Like. That's the one you don't want.
I know.
Which one's the one I don't want?
So go to the.
Right here,
You have to close it out, so go to the view. I don't know,
Um,
no, underneath the Orinoco, see right in the middle, 5 people into the waiting room. Up middle, above the big, low picture, click view. So I'm guessing you'll want to take out the otter AI note taker.
How do I?
No, that's the host, the next one. You click on that. Can you? You can move. There we go.
Don't listen to Jason.
What?
Don't invite all.
Why not?
Well, it's a different,
It closes out the picture.
So add all of you. We took out the otter AI.
no, I'm just gonna do it
Yeah.
individually,
Yes, we did. See it.
just in case.
You're gonna take a picture of it?
No.
We can have it. If not, I gotta show you. Just pay the course. That's good. You. Just take it.
Can't be, or shouldn't be, but it's gonna
I'm not sure why that is.
be. Double click on us.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Let's see.
Okay, Ryland, whenever you're ready.
All right. Okay, yeah. Ready? Okay. All right, good evening. This is our first monthly city council meeting for 2026. It's January the 20th. Call to order. Roll call.
Mayor Ikorst.
Aye.
Councilor Pendergrass. Here. Councilor Phillips.
Here.
Councilor Reisdorfer.
Here.
And Councilor Spring. Here. And then we've got Mike Flaherty on Zoom. Joe has another obligation. He's not gonna be able to attend tonight. Kane is on vacation, and then myself and Rachel and Mel.
All right. Approval of the agenda. I have a couple items. Melissa. Okay.
Yep. I said and Mel.
Okay, couple items on the agenda. One is a couple of things we need to. Motion to approve.
Second.
Us have some amendments that's gonna add to it.
But you had to do it that way.
Approve it first. Approve or amend.
We have to make a motion to approve it, to have discussion on it, to add stuff.
Of course. We have a motion to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Second.
So
Now you can ask for the conditions.
amendments, yes. So the CETA report under departments and committee reports. The CETA contract was approved
It's not in here.
and it's assigned, it's under VI,
Oh, there.
departments and committee reports.
It's under what?
VI number 6, departments and committee reports. Economic Development Authority.
So what do you gotta do with that?
We're gonna remove it from the agenda because it's been approved with budget and signed.
Okay.
And,
Okay, what else you got?
and one other item under new business. Part number A, discussion. Remove that. This is for our Citizen of the Year nominees. Recommendations.
They're not here.
What's that?
I don't see them here, so that's something. But
There'll be a motion to add. After this.
New business.
So we, in the past, we would do a recommendation.
it's under new business.
I know.
Okay, for some reason, yeah, it's under new business.
New business.
Hey. Well, they.
Part A.
All of that. letters have been.
So it says discussion, but we're gonna have a motion to add, to make a recommendation to present or.
And I think we ought to move the RFP for engineering services ahead of adopting attorneys and all that stuff.
Let's see. Here.
Move new business up, moving up to the top of new business or after committee assignments, but been ahead of.
We can move it, so you're talking about the official designations, that's at the beginning of new business, so we can move it up before that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's move B up to beginning of new business. So, everybody would accept those amendments? Move the recommendation for outstanding citizens, move the CETA contract, and move up the RFP for insurance services to the beginning of new business. Any other changes?
The only other thing I'm looking at is on the personnel policy. I'm looking, with, January 1st, for Johan for fire department. I want to make sure that we get that in before the personnel policy.
We can talk about that when we talk about personnel policy, with some of the comments that were made from fire and first responder. So I think that's just a letter for us to know, but we can talk about that.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to, bring that to our attention. It's okay.
Okay. Before the personnel policy. Any other changes in? Seeing none, all those in favor signify as approved, as amended.
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
It's approved. Public forum, 3-minute time limit per person. City council welcomes and encourages participation from community members. Please keep in mind that your comments must be pertinent to city business and must adhere to data privacy rules. No employees' names may be used. Please do not expect action from the council during this evening regarding your concerns. To address the city council during public forum, please step up to the podium. State your name, address, and fill out a white form provided. Speakers will be recognized only once. You will be timed. Mel has a green card raised when you start. A yellow indicates you have 30 seconds left, and a red card indicates you have reached your 3-minute time limit and stop. So with that, we'll open the public forum at 6:40. Anybody here that would like to leave the public forum, please step forward. Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to speak forward, speak in public forum? Second call for public forum. And third and final call for public forum. Close public forum at 6:41. The first item is our sheriff's report.
I have one question on that.
Could you come forward, sir?
I have one question. What's an unknown?
An unknown,
There's unknown on the bottom. So
Yeah.
that typically would get changed to another call type. So a person calls in and dispatcher doesn't know what to code it, whether it's a domestic, a dispute, an accident, it gets coded as an unknown and somebody must have forgot to change it to whatever call type it was.
The other thing I see on there is 17 alarms.
Mhm.
What alarms?
Business alarms.
Is it the same business?
There's a problem business that's been having an issue.
Do you address that or do we need to address it?
It can be addressed. We have not addressed it. It's up to the business because they're the ones who pay for the alarm service and all that stuff, so.
Yeah, but we're paying for your service to go there for the 17 times.
much
So
we-
it's like, that's not once or twice, 17?
Yeah, there's been a lot, but they've slowed down. We've been on nights, we just came back to days, so I don't know how they've been during the days, but at nights they've been kind of slowing down, so hopefully during the days they are as well. So hopefully they have a wrap or a handle on what's going on with the alarms.
And can we address that one, Jason? I mean, that's
Like you said, that's between them and that. We pay for just the overall time here. It's not really, we're not getting billed extra for them.
No, but I'd like to have them, I mean, the rest of the stuff, for traffic stops or different things that way. So,
Might just be curious, which business and what's going on. Maybe a private matter, I guess.
Other than that, there's not been anything of note really in the town.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
I'd keep it that way. Yeah, thanks.
Any other comments for sheriff? Next item is, we removed the CETA contract and, the public works position has been posted. And I don't know if we've had any results. The application submitted, Mel or Rachel? Or is it? It's through February. Personnel policy. I think that's when I get back to the agenda. There is a building permit. They're under planning and zoning. Good reference. Next item is a employee relations committee regarding personnel policy. This was something that was we discussed in, or was tabled to the January meeting. And in the discussion, you see the submission form submitted by URC, Employee Relations Committee. So for discussion purposes,
I'll make a motion to approve the city personnel policy.
I'll second it.
Go ahead.
She's second.
Okay.
February 2nd, okay. So, yeah, this is something we've been working on quite a while, and in your packet, it's a letter from Johan. One quick responders, and maybe it's just Johan.
Yeah, I'm happy to take it, Rylan, if you want me to.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I think in your packet, there is a letter from fire and first responder with some concerns about the personnel policy. So I just want to first and foremost thank them for taking the time to spend to really look at it and bring up some thoughts and being able to ask their questions. So I appreciate their input. I think the one thing that I would like to clarify about the intent and status really of this policy is it was developed with collaboration with our city HR legal team. So, right, so we want to make sure that the city is compliant with state and federal employment laws, and that we want to make sure that we're setting the city up to have consistent and compliant personnel framework. And I know we've all wanted that for a while. Just a little bit of background, this policy was shared with fire and first responders over the last probably 6 months as we continued to draft it, as there was additional concerns when we brought it forward the beginning of the last year. And so this final policy after HR legal team reviewed it was shared with them on December 11th. And so we didn't really get any formal responses until the 9th of January. So we understand that there's some timing with leadership transitions. However, I think the city, we still are obligated to make sure that we are maintaining an up-to-date personnel policy. And so being able to continue to delay this, we are presenting some legal and operational risks. So I know there's a couple of concerns in those documents that I just wanted to talk about, and we can open it up for other questions, but just want to head it off before we go there. So I know there was some conversations about in section 4 about really the hiring process, and it talks about the city administrator and or designee to be able to really think about how do we hire within the city. And so again, when we start to think about city administrator or designee, right, that could also mean the fire chief in that regard of being able to bring on new volunteers. I think that does bring a bigger question to the group that we would need to talk about is, are there current actually panel interviews going on, and should Jason or someone from ERC or city council sit on those? So that's probably a question that we need to talk about, but it doesn't mean that Jason needs to hire everybody. There is that designation that we can have a designee there. The other is talking about holiday pay on section 11, and that really applies to full-time employees only. So it doesn't apply to volunteers. So it doesn't really create any new compensation requirements that we need to think about. And there's really no impact to our budget for the year. I think the other thing was talked about is having a separate volunteer policy. We talked about that with our city HR legal team. They advise against it because it is just something more to maintain. We did earmark where the volunteer fire and first responders do not apply within this policy. And that was against kind of their best education as well, to make that delegation of where it's applicable and where it's not. I think, again, we want to make sure that we're thinking about approving this just to make sure from a legal perspective, it doesn't mean that the dialogue can't continue and this policy can't continue to evolve, but continuing to push the can down the road, we're opening ourselves up for risk. So those are some of my comments as we've worked on this over the last 6 to 8 months to try to get a policy out there. It's probably not perfect, but we have to start somewhere.
All right. Thank you, Marie.
Yep.
The letter regarding, I'm sorry, did you speak about Johan's letter we received on the 13th?
Yeah, I got them both in there. Yep. I know that there was some conversation about in Johan's letter about what is an employee versus a volunteer. I know, Mike, you were able to do just a little bit of research on that. So would it maybe turf that off to you of just some of the language that was being used about what an employee and a volunteer means?
Pardon me, can you guys hear me? My screen's not blinking green.
Yeah.
Okay,
It is here.
okay, it is there. Okay, good deal. Yeah, so I didn't get the letter. I saw Johan sent a note to Melissa or somebody about that not being in the packet, which triggered me to ask for it, and then I read it. And so the only issue, I mean, I didn't really look at the issues with contradictions and this and that, and we had legal, very competent legal team review this with the ERC for a number of months, and so I'll just defer to that analysis. But the one thing that did catch my eye on it was the claims that employees or volunteer firemen or firefighters are not employees. And so that's a well-worn path, for our firm to answer that question. And there's analysis under the Minnesota Fair Labor Standards Act and the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act that would apply to that. And so I want the council to understand that the quotations, I mean, it caught my eye to the point where I didn't think it was right. So I did look up there's quotations quoting to Minnesota statute 176.011, 177.23. And I shepherdized, that means I went and looked at those statutes, and I don't view those quotations to be found in the statutes at all. And I don't think the conclusions drawn there are accurate. I think that the quoted language isn't actually quoted in the statute, and if you really read those, it would probably suggest that volunteer fire people are employees, not that they're not employees, although I don't think either of those chapters applies to this to that analysis. I think there is a more complex analysis, quite a complex analysis about balancing factors such as when employees get compensation and for what they get compensation and how much they get compensation for. There's several in our standard guidance, there's several Fair Labor Standards Act advisory opinions that are cited. That's more a product of common law, not of the statutes that are cited. The statutes that were cited were a different grouping of statutes. Let me just pull up my analysis on it. Just give me one second. So that's in the, there was quotations to the chapter 84, and it wasn't cited to that, but that's what that language is from, which is the Department of Natural Resources, state employees. It doesn't apply here. And then workers' compensation statutes, and there's a kind of a, and I don't blame Johan for this necessarily. I mean, he's not an attorney, but there's quotations to that employees only for the purposes of workers' compensation, and that's not what that statute says. It says that people are employees for the purposes of workers' compensation. It doesn't limit it to only that chapter. That chapter is not really relevant to that analysis. So the long and the short of it is, it's a complex analysis that's based in common law. I did speak briefly with one of our labor attorneys about it because, again, it caught my eye, and they kind of gave me the analysis and I reviewed that. And so it's really difficult to go into the analysis verbally right now. It's that complicated. But it is certainly something you would want an attorney's opinion about, not, you'd want it. And I think they've given it. I wasn't part of those meetings with the Employee Relations Committee, Marie, but I assume they discussed this and explained this to you.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say about that. In terms of the conflicts, I do note, the one thing I would note about that, and something I've noted for a while, is that there wasn't even a code provision for a city administrator. That I don't know if we've rectified that yet, but there was no such position. So in the city code at all. And for, I think since the inception of the city, probably there had never been an administrator until, I don't know, less than 5 years ago, probably. And so you might want to do some updates to your code to match this, which would be like the next step, so that there is no conflicts. But the bottom line is you've had an administrator for multiple years without fixing that. And I think this is just another thing that you need to do and have a good employee policy and manual. So I agree with what Marie's saying there. And honestly, I just got this letter this morning, so I didn't have time to fully look through each thing in the letter. But again, that employees versus volunteers is one. I mean, it's not a product of statute, it's a product of common law, and there's citations to statute that aren't relevant to that analysis. And so, without getting really deep into it, that's all I can really say about it. But I do agree you need to have some sort of personnel policy here. Would it kill you to wait another month? Probably not. But Marie's point on how long they've spent on it already is well taken. So that's all. Unless somebody has questions, I can try and answer them.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Sure. Thanks, Mike, for that. I really appreciate it. You're right. I'm not a lawyer. I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. I'm just kidding. No. I agree. I agree with you. Your last statement was definitely that we need a policy. I 100% agree with the policy. And if you look, I know you just got my letter a little bit ago. But if you look near the end, I did state about the city of Byron, which is very local to us, right? They're a couple cities away. They looked at this too, and they said, yep, just like you said, we need a policy. But they went a different route where they are specific. And they understand that the roles, responsibilities, hours, pay, pay scale, all of that is different for volunteers. So they opted to have, actually, they have 3 policies. As I understand it, one for, of course, the city employees of Byron, and then another for the firefighters and another for the first responders. Where they outline, you know, more of these, not idiosyncrasies, but just, you know, differences in what these volunteers or these people do, these 42 people that we have here.
Is there any way to get a copy of those?
There would be a way to get a copy. I could not get a hold of Matt Grant, their fire chief, this week. It's been a week. But I really urge the city council, like there's other things that I didn't mention in my letter, was if we're speaking to the media. We have fire or we have medical or a mass casualty, something at 2 a.m. I really don't think, I mean, I'm sure Jason would pick up, don't get me wrong, but I really don't think that he wants to be bothered at 2 or 3 in the morning when I need to talk to, or someone needs to talk to the media. And that's included in this policy. So, I mean, he'd probably pick up, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he wants to. And I don't think that you guys want this policy to enforce that either. So again, we're very open to dialogue. Both departments are very open to dialogue, very open to signing something, but we really want to tailor to what we do. And obviously with the city of Byron, they saw the need to. So I hope that we can see the need to.
I think it would be good if we could get a hold of that, just to take a look at it and see what that has to say. The other comment that I'll make is that up to this point, number of times that as long as I've been on council and that we haven't had an issue, even though it didn't say, you know, city administrator or anything else that way. Things have run relatively smooth on everything that's been going on. And so it's not like we're trying to fix a problem. The problem is not there. And I think that waiting and seeing what we get from Byron makes more sense for us to see and to review that for the volunteers. You know, the other, I'm fine with all the other stuff that's in here for the personnel policy on everything else that you guys have done, so.
I think if we don't have documentation, it's hard to hold people accountable for things that we are wanting to hold them accountable for, right or wrong. And so again, open to talk about others. The other thing I just want to point out is another policy means more time for someone to write it and maintain it, right? And so if we can't even get this one policy review, now we're going to have 2, 3, 10. I just want you guys to think we are a small city with really small numbers in terms of employees and volunteers. We shouldn't be making this harder for ourselves, would be my comments, but I'm open to thinking about how we get creative, but another policy means more time spent with HR, right? And I know, Jim, you talked about the big bill that was coming from Flattery and Hood last time, right? So that's going to be more time spent for that, another policy to review on an annual basis, time that Johan and first responders are going to have to make sure that they're compliant every year and getting it looked at and reviewed. It does add up to have 2 separate policies for a really small number of individuals.
I think that
I agree with you, Marie. I would think that the 40 plus of us on both departments would definitely make that effort, right? Just like we make the effort to, I don't know, for example, like I'm making everybody bring in their radios by tomorrow because we're getting them reprogrammed, right? It's just, to me, from an admin side and or just from any side, this is a cost of doing business, right? This is, if we want something that's tailored to us, if we want something that says, that outlines what we do, whether it's fire, first response, or both. We're gonna put the time in. I'll make sure that we put the time in to sign it again, if we have to sign it yearly or whatever it is, to make that happen.
It's not just your time though, it's legal's time too. Like, so, I mean, I understand what you're saying, Johan, but there's gonna be time that we have to spend with Mike or others to get a separate policy made that is federal and state compliant.
Right, you know, and
We can't just cut and paste out of this one. That's not gonna give us the right policy.
No, you know, just like, well, for example, for SOPs, SOGs, right? There's something you can always cut and paste out of, but you have to tailor it to your response area, right? So same with this.
Everything's all unique in its own. But, you know, you did bring up speaking to the media, and is that something that the city should address somewhere, having some kind of a media policy? It's in there.
It's in there.
And it's in there, but the thing that there is like Johan was talking about, if you're at a scene, you got reporters that show up, it's in the middle of the night, you don't know what's going on, they ask questions, you know, or whatever, you should be able to answer those as being that type of being a firefighter or a first responder that's there and
Right.
saying, huh?
I understand that.
And that, again, is what we're saying is it's gonna be separate that way a little bit differently.
So how
And
did that go with the township when we had lots of media and people saying lots of different things? I just want to call it out.
I think if we dwell into that one, and I don't necessarily want to go there, but I think there were other things that happened prior to that point in time that created that issue that was there that shouldn't have been created. But that's water underneath the bridge. I think what we're
It
looking at.
is, but if a policy is that we're all saying the same thing and we have a practice in a policy in place, that wouldn't have happened, right? We would have had a clear message where we would have been a united city to be able to talk about that, good or bad. I'm not saying we shouldn't air things that we've misstepped on, but that would have caused less chaos if we would have had time to think about what is our message and what are we trying to talk about.
I think I'd like to see what the Byron, policy has to say, especially with that. And I think it's worthwhile to look at that, just for the flexibility of what needs to be done for the volunteers. And we do have a number. I mean, it's not like one or two that are volunteer people. We're looking at 40 people that we're talking about in this community, which is a good section of what we have for volunteers. So I understand there's extra work, but I think if we're going to do this, and there's just a few minor things that I think that both the first responders and fire department are concerned about.
So I would agree that, first of all, appreciate the letter, because you did bring some point out that we haven't heard. And the fire department, first responders, this is not the first time you've seen the policy. You've seen it numerous times in 2025. And the research of searching out to Byron and everything it's very notable, and I think that should have been done. But I think we're to the point that the changes that we did in the personnel policy was the definitions on page 12. And that was the letter that was sent to you in December 11th, 12th to look at and review. That was the main question. There's also a question about the formed acknowledgement of all the federal information, everything that was needed. So I think I'm of the opinion of adopting as is, because one, we've been talking about for a long time, and I'm open to, it's a living document. It's always been known to be a living document. And if the fire department wants to pursue looking what Byron has and seeing how that works for us or doesn't work for us, and work with the ERC to make those changes at some time in the future, I'm okay with that. But I think we've spent a lot of city money, taxpayer money to get us to this point, and I think it's important that we get that documented as being effective today. I also think that because it's been updated to include the Minnesota Paid Leave Act, that's important to everybody. And right now, that's not in our policy. And I think it needs to be in our policy that by adopting it tonight, it gets us going forward with a date on the policy, and we can continue to look at your aspect of the fire department and first responders and see how it fits with us.
I understand, Ryland. My last thing I'll say is that we have worked a long time on this. You've got 40+ volunteers in the city versus 6, 7, 8 city employees. So the majority of your people are volunteers. And I'd hate for us to rush something if we could take 1 more month or 2 more months to make sure that we do it and we pinpoint everything that we need to do. And we have it done right.
I just want to call out, this was not rushed by any means.
No, I'm not
This
saying
has
it's not. I'm not
been-
saying it's rushed. Sorry, no, I was not sorry. Sorry, Maria, I was not saying that. Not that we rushed it at all, just that I feel like this last month or so, I feel like it's rushed, and I would like to take 1 more month to help work together to figure it out. So, thank you.
The one of the comment about the midnight call to the administrator, I think it's very common for people to say no comment and don't get caught up in the emotion, the reaction of something going on. So it's very typical to say no comment, get back with you in the morning or something like that.
That would be
I mean, that's a
big thing.
sensible way to approach it, so. But I think it's to a point where we just need to get something documented. It's the first meeting in January, and so that's my position, but.
If I can really say something real quick, I agree with both sides of this right now. I think it's important to get this approved, but I also know that they should have their own policy. We talked about this back when we started things in October, and I know I provided a couple examples to you guys and encourage you to start working on it back at our first meeting with their group in ERC back in October of last year. So I think it's important for them to have their own policy, and it will take time, but that's where I also think it's important to get this in place. And then as we go, like you said, right, it's a living document. We can amend it as needed. Once they have a solid policy in place, it can kind of come in and we can adjust the current one we have for city employees.
Make it added as an amendment.
Well, no, it would be its own standalone policy, and we would be able to amend the current one we have for employees to, however we need to, if we need to take things out or adjust the verbiage. But, like when I worked for the police department, we had our own policy manual for our department. We also had the policy manual for the university we had to follow, and we had, so there's multiple policy manuals at different levels, but they should absolutely have their own, because it's gonna go way more in depth than what we would ever do at our level. This is kind of the basic catch-all, get things, theirs would be much more in depth, covering a lot of the same type of topics. But again, much more in depth because of what they have to do, just being first responders. So just my take from that side of it.
Any other comments?
No, the only thing, Johan, is would that work for your people off of that?
I would absolutely love to have a separate policy.
It would be a department policy, right? So it's not gonna take this and you can't supersede some of these things because these really are HR. So to Jason's point, it's gonna be more in depth on Johan on how you're gonna run the fire department and some of those processes and SOPs that you guys do on a monthly basis. So it's not, I just want to call that out, that it's going to be more in detail of what Johan is expecting as the chief to make sure that from a fire perspective that it's running smoothly, and here's the things that they're going to do as well.
I don't think there's anybody disagreeing with not having a policy. I just think it's just the timing of taking more time and probably some of our HR attorneys time to look at it too, so. And I think that can be done down the road, or 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, whatever it takes, so. But we want it to be done right, and I'm sure you want to be done right too, so.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if, how soon we could get that Byron policy to take a look at. That's where if we could get all that stuff within a month, okay, then we're not looking at that much of a difference. If we can make this retroactive on this policy to January 1st, 2026.
We have a lot going on this month, and we'll talk about that later on too, but I would. Yeah. I think we should approve it, and it's open for further discussion and more detail, and something that could be written as a separate policy or part of this personnel policy, but right now we're looking at getting approved what we have to date. Any other comments?
The only other comment, Rylan, would be that with the approval that we would require that acknowledgement of receipt and reading by the end of February so February 27th. That is just a standard of practice of when things get updated, that people are aware that they've changed and they've signed off it. Similar to if we have a new hire, we would go through this and talk about the personnel policy, they would sign off that they got it as well. That's pretty standard of practice. Again, if we change it, we would do the same thing.
I think you're gonna have a lot of volunteers that are gonna sign it, so.
Well, then maybe that's a different conversation that we would need to have with fire and first responder leadership.
Well, we could table it to the February meeting. But then that would be the end date for approving the policy. We can go to March, April, but then I would rather have sign approve it today and continue to work on a good policy. We have no idea what the Byron is, and I do get it. It's a lot of time and go out 4 weeks or less to make that happen. I think would be a challenge.
I would like to make a motion to table it till next month and see what we come up with Byron and see how far off it is for what there is, what we have right now.
We have a motion on the table to approve already.
I will second the motion to approve as written with the acknowledgement of receipt by the February 27th of 2016. Or 26, sorry, I said 16.
So you're making a friendly amendment?
Nope, I'm taking Ryland's. I'm seconding it.
Table.
I made the motion to approve it. Yep. Marie seconded.
So all in favor of approving the personnel policy today, as written, with the understanding of more work to be done going forward in the fire department? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Oppose?
Nay.
Nay.
Personnel policy is approved as of to date, and we'll continue to get more input from the fire department regarding the potential fire department standalone policy. Moving on. We have a quote for the Motorola radios and turnout gear.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. So, yep, so I'm requesting, 2 purchases, this month or later this month or February. For 4 radios that were, APX 6000s that were budgeted for this year in the fire department budget. And then also, for sets of turnout gear. You see the radios are 1 full quote, that's how Motorola does it. For everything, fire safety gave us a quote for 1 set of turnout gear, that's how they do it. So I'd like to get council's approval, please, to move forward on the purchase of those items.
Make a motion to approve and get started with that, with the order.
Second.
Also, real quick, it does take a bit to get the radios and to get the turnout gear. 3 to 6 months is our time frame. For the radio? For the radios, yeah. And
Technology.
Turnout gear is fitted, so I understand that.
yep,
So are we getting just one?
over COVID, it was like 6 months to a year, and now we're back down to about 3-ish.
It's for one set of turnout gear, right?
Oh, I'm asking for, I think I put in there, I'm asking for 4.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
I,
Hi.
Oppose? Approved?
Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Do I have something else?
Like AVs or something?
Oh, that would be first responders.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
I got put under yours.
Oops, sorry.
Nope, that's okay.
First responders was, policy and the council report. Something else.
It got put under fire department. It looks like it's the bottom one there, says Orinoco Fire Department quote.
Oh, from Zoll.
Yeah, that's the AEDs.
we can go. Over.
I make a motion to approve their, I think they're asking for 4 AEDs.
Second.
Okay. Discussion, Kobe,
What was that?
everything to say?
No, I think we've kind of gone through this, that we were gonna do 4. And along with all the pads and cords and.
This outfits all the vehicles then? Does it outfit all the vehicles?
Right, and it also, yeah, it would all outfit all of it. Yes,
And then do we have any additionals that are they expired from use, or do we have additionals still?
I,
I believe they're expired.
yeah,
Okay. So these will replace what's on the trucks and the first responder vehicles,
Yes.
correct.
and I don't know, do you keep one on the brush, the UTV? Sorry, sorry, no.
Stand here together.
Yeah.
So, so the 4 rigs that hold the AEDs, engine 1, engine 2, NFPA standard says we carry AEDs. And then also rescue 1, right, first out for first responders, and then brush 1, which is second due. If we get more or need more help.
For curiosity, is there an AED in the building? We have a lot of people in this building that.
They're kind of here. I'm trying to think, is that just the pack that's back there?
Is there one here?
There is,
I know I had asked Dan at the end of last year to go around all the buildings, and I don't know if you were part of that change. I know there was close to transitioning.
I was not.
To go through and look at where we're at for our AEDs and to update ones we need. We should definitely have one here, especially with the classes we hold.
Absolutely. This is direct from Zoll. So this is our Zoll rep, like we're not going through an intermediary or a third party or anything. So, I think Jeremy's name is on here. Sorry, Jason Landry. He is definitely the point of contact for the best.
Yeah, I would think especially here with some of the senior citizens and stuff like we have here would be advantageous to have one.
can I just request that before you dispose of any of the ones that are currently in use, that we can look into if we can repurpose them for the building or mobile during Gold Rush or whatever, if they can still be used, before we dispose of them, let's try and figure out if there's a use for them. That's just a request that.
The biggest issue with them, if they're anywhere near expired. If they're expired, and they don't work, you're at fault for it. You know, you wouldn't want an expired one sitting here praying it worked and it didn't.
But one that's not here won't work.
That's true, that's a guarantee.
That's a guarantee it won't work. Oh.
I think it'd be good to have one definitely here.
Yeah.
City Hall.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you said there's
But-
one here, Jason?
I thought there was, they got the bag in the back there, but I don't think there's actually.
It's
one
there,
in
but
the
is
bag.
it labeled where everybody would know where it was at?
Oh, it's been there for 2 years. I've seen it move,
Open it up.
I've seen it move a couple times when they've looked through it to, I think, refresh the supplies once a year.
Does somebody wanna go open it up and see what's back there?
I'd like to
Let's go see
still,
what we
let's see
got
if it
back there.
works.
It was really, my first year here was really covered in dust, so.
And it
um,
was clear.
Well, that was good. It never got used, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, Vegas kind of falling apart.
Yeah, it was, I looked at it and I was like,
Think
oh,
it is.
is that, no, that's too
been a
small. That's
while.
not gonna have the-
I guess my point is, who would know that was back there other than
That's a good.
Should be in a cabinet.
good point.
people in here?
That's
But
what
we
we in,
can, we can use the ones that might be expired for first responder vehicles that might not necessarily, they might not necessarily be expired for in-home stuff,
There's
so.
something in-
Here. But I think that would be them, not us.
I think it's gonna be a matter of checking the battery and then making sure the pads are still good.
Yep,
Might be labeled
But
hall.
I think that
Other
we
places are
should
have a
get
box in
one
the hall.
that's serviced cheaper than
Yeah.
buying a new one. But anyway,
Johan, are the ones we currently have, are they purchased through Zoll as well? No?
Unfortunately,
Okay. That might make it a little challenging. We'll talk.
we can chat about what our options are.
yeah, that's all I ask is just if there's a good use for them, let's try and repurpose.
Oh, absolutely.
Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed, same. Approved. That's all. The responders, unfinished business is next. This is regarding the carryover from the December 16th meeting. Regarding, wasn't there a resolution?
No, we didn't. You're talking about mine? Yeah, there was
Yeah,
no
just-
resolution because we were gonna wait to see what we heard from the forensic audit before we did anything else. So this was tabled until this month. And so, I make a motion that we take or just leave the 10% that we were getting with the city to leave that with the first responders and just make it simple for record keeping. And that way they get audited every year off of their stuff. And it makes it simpler for Mel to be able to take care of what she needs here of what goes on. So that would be my motion.
I think you want.
Okay, so-
By relief, not with relief.
Fire relief, yeah.
We're good.
I'll second for discussion.
I thought there was a. I was looking at what was in the December meeting notes of page that's in your packet.
That's what it was.
So I just want to make sure because on page 41 was your submission form for code 130.007. To repel and replace ordinance 130.07.
We don't, and in the discussion that we had in December, and I believe Kent had a really good idea when he was talking about it. There might be somebody else that we have that might want to turn around and will use that 10% or whatever with them. So that way I didn't want to do it the whole way to remove that resolution, but only the part that there is for the first responders that are not first responder, but fire relief, that fire relief gets that 10% and it stays there. Only the fire relief.
Which is. Because today, correct me if I'm wrong, it's going to the fire department.
No, right now it's coming to the city.
It comes to the city, but then.
I don't think it goes back that way because that was one of the things that we had. It stays here. But most of the stuff that's been going on with the fire relief has been stuff that they spend with the city anyway that goes along with it. So whether it be National Night Out or whether it be stuff they do for a Gold Rush or what we were doing for the Special Olympics. We give money to that, that goes to that. What was the other one that we had? That went to,
See, the brush rig, brush two, $36,000, that was fire relief. The SCBA, bottle filler, that was $24,000. $50,000 towards, outfitting engine two, that was the extrication tools that we put on engine two. Most recently, a thermal imaging camera for engine two, at price tag of about $6,000. But we also gave to St. Jude's,
that's what I was thinking
And
about
the-
St. Jude's.
the Special Olympics, in the past to the VFW.
We gave to, Age Friendly too. We made it, we helped that way for some stuff. So most of the stuff goes back to the city on anything we're doing with that. And it just makes,
For the forensic audit, 10%, the pull tab donations, that came into one account. And then it went to the fire department equipment fund, 425 account. That's what the forensic audit said. That's my understanding. Is that correct or is that wrong?
I'd have to go back and look at,
yeah, I didn't see
not
that.
my top of my brain right now.
That was my
That's-
understanding.
Maybe not to the fire relief, but let's go back to the.
Because we've got it going, I think right now it's set to go into just the 425.
So we take in the 10%. Council needs to motion and approve how those dollars are used, whether charitable or back to the fire department. Historically, what council has been doing for the last year or two is using those monies to make purchases for the fire department, whether that be training or equipment. Historically, that's just what council has done. In December, council used $3,000 of the 2025 10% gambling contributions that came into the city as a donation to the food shelf. I think what Johan is referencing is other goodwill donations and what that other 90% that they keep goes to, which they're using as an example of they are donating to the same causes and the same entities that the city might also consider to donate to their 10%. So things like the VFW or other community events, fireworks and things like that. But historically, Ryland, yes, the council has been using the 10% gambling funds contributions from the fire relief to make purchases back for the fire department, equipment or training.
And you also have to account for that and fill out the form every year as it goes back to send back to the state. And that would take care of that, just to make it simpler. And then every month, we don't need to have a resolution. There would be for us to be able to accept it and keep track of it that way. Once we stay with the fire relief, it just stays over there. And we know where it's at and what's being done with it and how we've spent it in the past. So it's just simpler.
I understand what you're saying. For auditing purposes, I thought the auditors were asking for, to put into resolution, so there's some documentation.
Mike was trying to.
Yeah, can I just help out a bit here? I had listened to the conversation before the last week. I think this is the third time we've talked about this now. And I just was confused about what the goal was. So now I called Jason today and I figured out what the proposal was, which was not to repeal the whole ordinance, but just to basically add an exception in for the Fire Relief Association that they wouldn't have to pay the 10%, which ultimately would get paid back to them anyway later on. Probably 10% and then some would get paid back to them. So can I share my screen quick? Might be easier if I do that. Is that even allowable in this meeting?
Yeah.
No, let me just see if I can figure it out. Oh, I got it. I got you. Here, send request. I sent you a request.
Go back to the goal plate.
Yep.
So
Yeah, that's not looking right. Here, let me click on it again here. I got it. Good deal. So this is your ordinance. Can you guys see this green and yellow?
Might have to make it a little bigger.
I'm not sure I can. This is a Word document. Let me
Can you zoom
just-
in on the Word document?
I can blow it up, maybe.
There you go.
Just make it
Blow it up.
bigger. Is
There
that
you go.
better? So this is what your ordinance reads now. The city shall disperse these funds for lawful purposes as defined by that statute. And then, so what I was originally thinking you were trying to do is change that. And so the green language is not currently in your ordinance at all. So I thought you wanted to take out this reference or maybe add to this reference to this. This is like the charitable contribution statute. And it's got a whole long list of a whole bunch of charitable things you can do with that money. And I was thinking you wanted to leave that in, but then add also so that you could legally use these for police, fire, other emergency, public safety related services and equipment. Okay. But now what you're saying is, and so then I was like, well, if you don't want them to pay the 10%, you want to just repeal this whole thing. And now I get it. You want to keep collecting the 10% from other charitable groups that do pull tabs, but not the first responders. Is that fair? That's what the request is.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm just concerned. I haven't researched that issue. I wasn't understanding that was your intent, but I haven't researched that. I do think there might be a little bit of a legal issue there in that you're treating similarly situated people different under the statute. In other words, if the VFW runs pull tabs, now they got to pay 10%, but the fire relief doesn't have to pay it. And that might create an equal protection or due process issue. I'm not sure that it does, but it might. And so that's why I was originally thinking about you don't have to collect the 10% if you don't want to. You just repeal this whole thing. But the current, so then I'm going to show you the statute where this is derived from. So this right here, and I can't blow that up, but I'll just read it to you. It says charitable contribution means one or more of the lawful purposes expenditures under subdivision 12, 25 paragraph 8 clauses 1 to 7, and then separately 10 to 15, and then separately 19. So it's not even, your ordinance isn't even really correct as it's currently drafted. It says any of these things under that entire statute, but the statutory allowance is only for certain subdivisions. It's only for clause 1 through 7 or 10 through 15 or 19. And I think there's like 20 plus, there might be like 25 different reasons you could donate. And so, your ordinance currently doesn't even accurately state the law, I don't think. It was probably written a really long time ago. However, there's separate language in the statute that allows you to do this, which is basically, I'm not going to find the statute. I'll just tell you. It also, in addition to that subdivision 25, it also has this exact language. So in addition to what's in that statute, you can also use the funds to pay for police, fire, other emergency or public safety related services, equipment, training, and excluding pension obligations, which is, I think, what most cities do. Most cities collect this money and then use it for fire equipment. I think that's the normal way to do it. And I see the want and desire to just leave the whole statute so that you can keep getting the 10% from others, but not this group. But then I worry that those other groups are going to complain and say, well, wait a minute, why do we have to withhold 10%? They're not withholding 10%, and maybe have some sort of legal challenge to that. And I haven't fully researched that, but I didn't fully grasp what was going on until today. So I think you need to change this ordinance to add that green language in anyway, and actually change this, because this isn't even the right statute that you're referencing. It's only certain provisions within this statute which are defined in a different statute. So it's kind of confusing. I'll stop sharing. So that's the long and the short of it, is it would require an ordinance amendment. And, I guess I can look into if I think it's legal to do what you're suggesting. I'm not saying necessarily it's not, but you do see my point though. Like, if you have a criminal statute that generally you don't select out certain groups of people that it applies to and certain groups that it doesn't. You usually have to uniformly apply it. And so I haven't done much research on it, but I did want to point that out. I do think you should at least add in this police fire language because that's what you're using. That's what you should be using the money for, and that's what you're using it for. If you repeal the whole statute, then it accomplishes what Jim is asking it to accomplish. The problem is, of course, then you're not collecting the money from other groups. So there's a negative there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I understand what you're trying to say. It's my understanding that like 85% of the fire departments in Minnesota don't give the 10% to the city. Okay, that's what my understanding is. And I could be wrong on that one. So it might
Yeah,
be just
I don't know.
you know, and I
Yeah,
know
it just
I'm just trying to make it simple for reporting purposes too. Maybe just repeal the whole thing and just.
Well, so here's what I would suggest. Even though we've continued it 3 times, I suggest doing it one more time because I am interested. The only exception to this would be if you're not collecting a lot of money from other pull tab vendors anyway. And I don't know what the balance sheet is. I mean, if you're only collecting $2,000 a year, who cares? Let's just repeal the whole thing. If you're collecting huge amounts of money, like I gave the example, I was talking to Jason today of the Goodview Activity Group in the city of Goodview. They sell pull tabs and they collect a huge amount of money for youth sports, essentially. That is an allowable use under that statute I quoted. And so for them, it would be that they couldn't repeal it. They have to keep collecting that money so they can build ball fields and whatever, fix the parks or whatever. But I don't know how much you're getting for it. Does anybody know how much you collect from pull tabs?
$10,000 a year is what.
And is that included with the fire relief and all the other groups combined is 10,000?
There's no other ones that are adding, just fire relief is the only one.
Oh, that's the only one you've given a license to? Oh. Well, then why don't you just repeal the whole statute? Or either that or just add this language in if you want to keep collecting it and distribute it, if the city wants to keep control over it. I mean, so then the only issue is who controls it. Do you just to let the fire department keep it all to begin with, or do you collect it from them and basically pay them right back with?
Might as well let them keep it and make it simple for everything that goes on.
Yeah. I guess that is the main issue. I should have asked Jason that. He could have told me that today, but I wouldn't want you to miss out. And what could happen is as the city expands in population, you might start doing pull tabs from other, there's like this snow, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the snow one, like the Snow Trekkers or something. They're pretty famous in southern Minnesota. They sell pull tabs all over the place. So if you get more bars and restaurants that open up in town, you might have more requests. And then I think you might want to readopt this and then I would have to, at that point, research whether or not you can just accept out one group, but not other groups. Which my lawyer antenna, everybody's antenna should go up a little bit with that. That it doesn't quite seem right, but I haven't researched it at all.
I think it would remove having to write that resolution each month.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It would be make it
also take the
simpler,
bookkeeping out of it.
everything that's going on for them and.
My concern would be if we do have more groups come in who want to do this, then we have to go back
I agree.
and we have to do it again.
I agree.
We have to put it back in at that point.
From the staff side, we've got the resolution written. It's changing a number each time, so that's not a big deal. And now we've got a good handle on this and system in place moving forward. That should be changing to be super easy as well. Am I wrong in that assessment, Mel, or?
No, now that it's being tracked and somebody
Yeah.
knows they're supposed to be doing it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you can't let people sell pull tabs. New groups sell pull tabs. New groups can sell pull tabs. You just wouldn't collect the 10% from them.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, we just put it in place to write that resolution each month to get that to keep track of.
So we should table it to the February meeting when you have a resolution in front of us and.
well, and I think you have to repeal, this is an ordinance. So if you're going to repeal it, you have to do a ordinance to repeal it. But you could make a vote today to just not collect any further 10%.
To repeal
then-
that, Michael, would we have to do a public hearing to repeal that?
No,
I don't think so. I don't think I mean, unless there's some special, I haven't read the gambling statute, so you never have to do a public hearing to repeal an ordinance unless there's a statute requiring it, like a land use ordinance, for example, or annexation, a lot of reasons. So I don't think so. I haven't fully looked at the gambling statutes, but I think what you could do is just make a motion tonight to stop, just a voice motion to stop collecting that 10%. And then we'll follow up next month with a formal repeal ordinance.
I make a motion.
Just a resolution to repeal it?
Nah, it's an ordinance. So you got to repeal it by ordinance. So, but it's just a one pager. It's not a big deal. I didn't understand that. We lost track of it, honestly, and I wasn't understanding. I get it now. I just didn't. I was thinking that you wanted to change the language to give the money to the fire department. I wasn't understanding that you wanted to just stop collecting it in the first place, which is fine. A lot of cities do that. I mean, there's, it's fine either way.
I guess my next question would be what do we do with the funds that they've given us in the last couple of months that we made the ordinance?
Well, everything has
City.
been done at
Stay
the end
where
of
it
the
is.
year, okay, with the exception of the one that we just took for this month, which is coming up. But that's going into the 425. So we were trying to do it where it would stop at December, but things got kind of.
Well, have you actually accepted the money yet?
No,
Yes.
Yeah, we accepted it last.
no, we
No.
haven't. We haven't accepted it with the resolution yet. The resolution hasn't
Yes, the
come up.
resolution is in the agenda, you're right.
So
we
it's
have
in,
not-
it's in the consent agenda tonight.
It's a new business.
It's a new business. So what I would recommend, if you don't want to hassle with that, if you're inclined to do what I'm laying out here, is just to not approve that and just strike that from the agenda, and then
And then everything will go and.
You're saying
go
just remove it from the consent agenda?
it's on the regular agenda, Marie said, not on the consent
Yeah,
agenda.
because
but
you have to take voice
Yeah.
votes on that one, so.
yeah, you can just skip that and just tell them you're not going to accept it because you're going to stop taking it altogether next month. And so, and then that would solve that issue. If you had already accepted it, I think then you have to probably spend it pursuant to the statute. But if you haven't yet accepted it, then just don't accept it. So
I think the
That's-
resolution in December that we were going. It was like $900 some.
Yeah, but that's all for last year. So
Yeah,
that's all.
From 2025.
So everything would be closed for just starting 2026 on everything. So we'd leave 2025 the way it was and start fresh with 2026.
But the resolution for tonight is for 2025.
What is for 2025? Okay, I didn't know if that was for what we,
Yeah, because if you look at their calculation sheet that's attached to it, it says period December 2025. We're almost kind of a month behind.
okay, then when we would accept it today for that, then that will close out 2025.
Yep. And then the money that you accept, if you still have some, not just that month, but if you have a pot of money sitting there, I think you can't give it back. You have to just spend it, consistent with what the law allows, which you have been doing. anyway.
Right. Okay.
So in our packet, resolution 2026-03, which is on page 64. The resolution of the city council of the city of Roanoke, Minnesota, accepting the monthly 10% gambling contribution from Roanoke Fire Relief Association. Therefore be resolved that the city council, city of Roanoke, Minnesota, does hereby accept the Roanoke Fire Relief 10% gambling contribution as defined above for the month of January. So
Which should read the month of December.
what's that?
It should read the month of December, not January. There are contributions that were collected from the month of December.
So this is written.
The resolution says January, it should say December
We're accepting it in January for.
for December.
So I would say let's table this and let's table accepting the monies until next month. Table those two things together. And then we should discuss whether we want to add the language that he proposed or get rid of the whole thing.
And that's the discussion tonight, because otherwise we keep putting that off. So if we have the discussion tonight and we agree that we're just not going to accept that and just get rid of that whole, what am I looking for? The ordinance, then we can have that written for next month for us to be able to put it in, but we have to have a voice on that tonight so we know what to do next month.
Well, you could just tell me to, I mean.
Well, that's what
Yeah.
he's waiting for Mike, and that's what he said. Okay, let's just go ahead and go that direction, so.
Well, if you wanted to get it done tonight, what Councilmember Spring's saying, it would be fine too. I think the one issue would be just don't accept any money, until you've addressed the ultimate issue as to whether or not you want to repeal it. If you're not sure whether, I think the reason to wait is you're not sure whether or not you want to repeal it. If you're still considering that, then wait. If you've decided you're going to do that, I think it's fine to just make a voice vote to, direct the city attorney to draft a resolution to repeal ordinance 130.007. If you still want to consider keeping this in and adding the language that, keep the pattern going of collecting the 10%, then in my view, your ordinance isn't fully accurate and needs to be fixed anyway.
So let's just repeal the ordinance and do a voice vote on that one.
Next month though. Or you
So
review.
we have,
And
Voice vote tonight on that.
And I'm more in favor of keeping the ordinance and adding the language. As opposed to repealing it completely. I
That
don't
means
want to.
every month we're gonna do this and have to keep a resolution every month of what's going on. and keep
Yeah,
track of it.
those resolutions take 30 seconds. So we've spent more time discussing this than it's gonna take all year to accept that resolution. I just don't want to get into a situation where we do have another group come in and want to sell pull tabs. And now we have to scramble and get this back in.
Make another resolution if that's the case. I mean, it's never happened up to this point, so.
No, but we're growing and we're getting more organizations and there are other like, sports teams that could very well consider doing that.
Well, gambling isn't the, isn't.
So that's why we-
duck race, isn't the duck race for sure, isn't that a gambling thing too? You buy a $5 ticket or something, just for giggles.
But that's under the
Fire department license.
Oh, okay, joking, yeah. Never mind.
I just think it was simple to do it.
so I did this, I missed the name. Did we have a motion initially or not?
I had a motion on it to approve it.
To approve what?
Feeling.
Moving the ordinance.
Did it get seconded?
I believe I seconded it.
Daniel.
So should we can vote on the motion, we can also table it till February and give the attorney time to review and from a legal standpoint to provide what the options are to us.
Well, he just explained that.
Yeah, I think the options are pretty
Yeah,
clear.
they're right.
I mean, yeah, the options are clear. Because you have no other organizations doing this, I don't think you need to accept out one particular group. I think you should just repeal it or keep it. And if you keep it, tweak the language a little bit to make sure that it's legal that we're giving this money to the fire, spending it on fire purposes and first responder purposes. So I think those are the two options. I don't think there's a third option.
Okay, either way, the money's going back to
So-
fire department one way or another, so. 6 of one, half of the other. If we
Well,
had-
I mean,
if we had
that's-
the language.
That's dependent too of, we've given donations to the city like we did this year to the food pantry and everything. It's not always to the fire department. There are other departments that can utilize those funds. So.
Well, that's the other issue. If you don't want to give it entirely to this group and you want to spread it out, then you need to keep collecting it, I guess. So if you're only collecting 10,000 in total, I don't know.
May
That's
not be a
not a
lot
lot.
to the fire department, but that could be a lot to something for
Yeah.
parks and trails or
Yeah.
whatever else, or you know.
I don't mean to diminish the food pantries need. $1,000 means a lot to them, obviously, or $2,000 means a lot to them.
And the fire relief does do that, so they've been doing that, you know, I'd like to have it, if we're doing this, we just repeal it.
Okay, so we table it next month, or are we doing?
I think we should table it. You'll accept that motion change, table it next month. Because in February, it's still gonna be the money coming in January.
So we got everything cleared up for the year, so then we just wouldn't accept it next month for the money coming in.
It's just the normal process is we approve the money for the previous month, the money from the previous month, that's what it's always been, so we're not changing that. It's just that this resolution is effective with December, but we want to make it effective with January, so we should, if we have a resolution, we should approve it in February, is my understanding.
So that we wouldn't take the money for this year.
Yeah, you should, don't take any money from 2026 if you're still considering it.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. If it's for 2025, I'm not sure, to be honest. That's an accountant question. I don't know.
Resolution 03 is for 2025 monies.
So do we have a, make a
I'll-
motion, we table it, well, you made a motion, ready to table it?
Okay, you have to, it has to be a friendly motion back to me if I want to
Okay.
table it, so,
Leave a friendly motion to table it for next month.
okay, I'll go along with that, and to have that, I think we should repeal it, so, yeah.
So what do we as city staff need to have and with the
So
attorney?
here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna make two resolutions. One of each. They're each about 1 page. It won't take more than an hour. And so it'll give you your choices. Choice 1 will be to repeal the whole thing. Choice 2 will be to just add a little sentence in there about how the funds are used. And then I'll bring them both back as alternates and you can pick which one you want. Does that sound good?
Yep,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, next item is our WSB zoning update. That was, carried over from December. And, I believe there's a memo from Jason in the packet. Find it here.
Page 45.
It was, I can't, it wasn't in order.
Page 40. 43.
Thanks, guys.
Hey,
So I'll talk a little bit about this.
page 43, go ahead.
You know, talking with Lori from WSB, basically where we're at is, you know, we have utilized them above and beyond the initial contract. You know, I think she told me to the tune of about $20,000 to $30,000 above what the original price was, just because the amount of stuff that we had going on with this project. That's not something they're looking to bill us for or anything like that, but they have put in a lot of extra work. And with that, we're to this point of they can no longer do anymore without creating a new contract. So if we choose to continue to want to utilize them for adjustments, fixing, things like that, we would need to create a new contract with them to be able to get their guidance. We do have, in December, we had the ordinance repeal and replacing for the zoning in the December one. So we do have that ready to go. If it is approved, that can be done, just based off of that. If there are certain things that this council still needs to talk about or would like to discuss more, I would recommend that we set up tonight times to do workshops in the coming month before February and get this approved by February at the latest. We do have contractors and people building that are asking for this. And, we're coming into the building season in the next few months here. They're trying to get themselves squared away as to what they are doing. So we want to make sure that we get this ready to go with them, for them to have plenty of time to look at it and make sure that they can align with our new building codes. So that's kind of where we're at, is approved tonight as is. Set up a time to look at doing a new contract, or set up times for workshops and then finalize in February. That makes sense? Kind of jumped around a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I think the basics is there for what we want to do with WSB, okay? So I think that we're in pretty good shape with that. I think there's gonna be tweaks in us to look at, so I don't think it'd be bad for us to do a new contract and to have a workshop to take a look at some of those things that might pop up, if we have them identified. So,
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, at least from a council perspective, Paul and Marie, myself, outside of P and Z, I'm sure you've had a chance to look at the drafts and everything. And so I've put together a one-page summary of I've had several conversations with Lori. Kathy was copied, Jason was copied. I did get a response back from Lori on some of the issues, but some of those are still outstanding in my mind as far as the discussion that we would need to have in the workshop. I put together a summary, and if you allow me to share it, these are just the highlights of my concerns with the codes and how they interface with our comprehensive plan. And some of those Kathy and Lori have seen back in October and November. I read both the July draft and the September draft. And I said, I put together about 11-page memo that I sent to them, and Laura responded for most of them. And that's fine. There's a lot of the council decisions that need to be, but these are kind of the high points, I think, of the 12 plus just numerous editorial updates, things like that. But you can see, I definitely think it's a workshop agreement or workshop needed just to get everything out aired and discussed from a council's perspective. I know that Dan and Jim have talked about it, but I think it's important that all of us as a council member review these items and just bring it to everybody's awareness. I think that the biggest thing outside of the development flex versus a PUD is our current cost security agreement that's in place. You can see solar systems, square footages. I think the 14,000 square foot was what the recommendation came from P and Z at the August or September meeting. Going into the August meeting before the public hearing, there was a 10,000 square feet. August P and Z discussed 12,000 square feet, and then in the September, it was recommended 14,000 square feet. Whether or not the steering committee should have been made aware of that changes from what they originally were thinking. There's a big difference in the number of homes at 10,000 versus 14,000. They're all 120-foot frontages. There's 33% more homes, 15 more homes in a mile of streets. Tree preservation plan or current orderly annexation agreement wasn't mentioned in one of them. Front yard setbacks from 25 to 35 feet, that's a 35% increase in cost of driveway, sidewalk, sewer, water line installation for developers. The data center, we may want to consider making that a conditional use versus a permitted use. So this is a, like I said, a highlight summary of my concerns of the need to have a workshop.
Well, and
Workshop.
some of my concerns, Ryland, it had to do with when this was initiated. The intent was to get rid of anything that's redundant and anything that contradicts each other in it. And so much stuff has been added.
Talked about that, yes.
And adjusting the lot sizes were the big issues. You know, I look at this stuff and I say, well, there's a lot of good things in here, but like you say, you have to work, and number 11, it says shall. For using irrigation systems to require somebody to put that in, that's kind of a little bit demanding. Like I said, I thought it would turn the whole city into a homeowners association. You know, in the comments, I was reading some of the stuff, and you only have 2 rummage sales a year. Hold it now. What's this have to do with setting up something like that in the city? And like, it's not that I have rummage sales every day, and neither do my neighbors. But my point is, what businesses are ours to run around and tell somebody that's all I can do? You know, it's none of my business for some things, for what my neighbors do, if it's not affecting me. But when I see stuff like that, I just shake my head. That wasn't the intent when this was initiated.
I mean,
And the number 11, okay, off of that, that one that there was for businesses, for having landscaping and irrigation systems. Okay, was for businesses, not for homeowners.
I still don't think businesses should be required to do it either.
so, if there's a consensus to set up at least a couple workshops,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
absolutely. Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
free,
I
whatever.
think Jim and I are both in a unique scenario where we have looked at this for a long time and we have looked through it. I'm happy to set up workshops so we can have discussions about it with the remaining 3 people. Like, that's,
Oh, yeah, I agree 100% on that. So,
there's a lot of history in some of these, like the lot sizes going from 10,000 to 12,000 to 14,000. The history with that is, the 14,000 was adopted instead of using step down zoning, which complicated things. And by keeping the flex district still intact, if a developer wanted to come in and build homes, you know, we always refer back to Hamilton, but if that piece of property wanted to come in and say, I want to put 10,000 square foot houses in there, they can still apply for flex zone. And then in that developer agreement, then we can then dictate what the step down from the current residents are. So the 12 to 14,000 square feet was actually community input at that at our public hearing.
Yes.
And so there was quite a bit of discussion. I think probably 2 different P and Z meetings that we discussed that in depth with and how the flex can be used to reach developer goals. And I think the staff training on stuff like that will be a huge part of that. But it sounds like if we want that to happen, we have to change the contract with WSB, right?
It's my understanding.
So that's kind of my sticky point right now, because like, I feel like the service was delivered late from WSB. I feel like the service was delivered incomplete by them. And she was very responsive, and I know that she did everything that we asked her to do. But at some point, when you're the project manager and you have to move things along. I mean,
And there were,
And stay in their own
and there were
budget.
delays from our part behind it too, you
Yeah.
know, so I
So-
mean, it was kind of. But I see some of the questions that you have, Ryland, which are, you know, good questions, okay, off of what there is. You know, off of that, and so I think we should have a couple workshops and do a little. Get some contracts, and she's not asking for money that there was on stuff that she spent. In the past, where she's asking for more off of the contract, so she did honor the contract of what was going on, so.
But we still have final revision, council training, staff training. Those are the things that we're gonna be missing out of the original contract, right?
Well, I think the final revision part is done, like from their end, it's done.
So, but only if we make,
Yeah, this is up to us to,
I have a question,
yeah, they did that, this is the cutoff, like, we can't keep playing this adjusting
Sure.
game, and
Yeah.
we're using too much time, and. You know, I guess as far as the minute details of the training portion, I didn't even think to ask her about that, so I don't know if there's flexibility in working with that. I can talk to her, but based off of the conversations I've had, they were pretty much at the end of it, so it would require a new contract. I did ask ballpark what she thought price range would be. You know, depending on services and what's going on, could be $20,000 to $30,000. Don't know exactly, it depends on what's asked of it. So that's something to keep in mind, that's not something that was budgeted for this year. So, you know, that's something you'll have to consider as well.
so when we're talking about revisions and, I mean, all of these are very valid points and good points, but there are also stuff that can be edited fairly easily, in my opinion. How comfortable are you that you or staff could do the final without?
It depends on what we're doing here. Are we changing wording that, you know, are we going 10 to 12,000 feet? Like, I mean, that kind of stuff. If it's something that's of a legal nature of, oh, we want to change this to do this. You know, I would have to get advice for that, cause it's, you know, I can look at things and research and do, but. You know, at the same time, I'm gonna probably would have to work with Evan on some of this stuff.
Mhm.
It was gonna cost that way, so you
Yeah.
might as well have her do it.
So why don't we set up the workshops and then we determine what changes, if any, are going to be made? And then we can make an educated decision on what services then we need WSB. Because if we're changing numbers or we're changing shall to may, like,
We can do
I
that.
think that's easy enough
Yeah.
to do. If we're asking for massive edits and big edits that staff wouldn't be comfortable making those, then I think that maybe we discuss the contract differences. Also, as far as like what is the training for you guys entail? What are we missing out on? And is that going to be important part of it?
And that's what we
As
would
well.
pay extra for.
Right. So if we're paying extra for that anyway, then we have them do the edits as well, but.
I can ask her that. I can
Okay.
reach out tomorrow and ask her that. Like I said, that was not something that even crossed my radar to ask her when talking about this stuff. So I can reach out and
Cause
ask her that.
we did budget. So we did budget to have all of our code put onto online, right? Like put
I
it
think to make it so we could put it online, but
in searchable format and,
with that too, we also have budgeted for this year to transition that Unicode.
right,
So that'll actually be beneficial to be able to just plug and play that right into there.
so
So
what services that they offer that we could potentially,
yeah,
What all is the training entailing with the?
right, that's what I'm asking, and that's what he's gonna find out. But I think that we set up a couple of workshops, we figure out exactly what kind of changes we're going to be asking for. And then we can go from there.
So it's 232 pages. So if we set up, say, 3 workshops, just to go over 80 pages at a workshop, kind of like we did with our budgets.
Mhm.
If we can do more, that's fine, but I guess we ask everybody to read the first 80 pages and.
So I would say, I hear you, but there's one of the sections is like 70, 80 pages and we have no say in it. It's all basically DNR. Like,
Shoreline.
right, shoreline stuff.
I think there's sections.
Spent a lot of time touching that. I don't want to.
So
I don't want to do
DNR
that.
Leave it alone.
We have the R1 section that's probably 3 pages or 4 pages, and I promise you that's gonna take the entire,
Well,
an entire meeting just.
The
for
DNR stuff is a
Right.
moot point.
Right.
Can't do anything with
Right,
it.
so.
Can we look at the first 2 weeks of February to set a couple dates? I'll look at it and start putting together stuff for agenda if you. But those first couple weeks of February, is there dates that work for everybody or a majority of everybody? We will make an online option available as well if you can't be here in person. So.
Groundhog's Day is not gonna work for me.
We got a whole.
I have to, I gotta go, I gotta watch Punxsutawney Phil that day, so.
In the first part of February, I've got
So we're the 2nd through the 13th, it's the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So what dates everybody's available? Send that to Jason.
Mel, do you know how to do those poll things where you put the dates and?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna send out an email tomorrow morning. It's gonna be a poll thing to everybody. We'll have all the dates, pick your dates that work for you, and we'll pull it and see what we get. So,
the 11th, we're gonna be busy anyway, I think. There's 11th and the 12th, it's the 12th. For P and Z.
potentially, that comes later.
Yeah.
Might be the 5th.
Well, if it's the 5th, I'll be up there for advanced training for
So
city council, so.
anyways, we'll put together a poll thing to put out to everybody. So please check your emails tomorrow afternoon, vote. That way we can start doing it. I'm guessing at evening time, is there a preference on start time? Like 6 o'clock? Does that seem to work well for everybody? 6:30, 5:30?
It kind of depends on the day. But-
Okay,
We can include multiple times too.
yeah, all right, we'll put together something and figure it out.
There's online, it's a lot easier.
Marie, I'll send you my summary sheet after the meeting. All right.
So do we need to motion or?
Well, we should, I guess we really can't motion.
There's nothing.
This is already finished.
We're setting it up. No, there's nothing.
Like nothing for the WSP budget or the,
No, that was just updated information, and if we're gonna move forward this way, this option, then
yeah, so I would, if you're gonna get in contact with her about the. About what the training actually entails. That would be good information to have maybe for the first workshop that we have. And let her know that we're trying to iron it out.
Yeah.
And then we'll discuss the additional services later.
good.
All right, next item is, move to approve the Oriental residential street speed limit from 30 to 25 for
I make
those.
motion to approve it.
I'll second that.
So the surveys,
Chili.
74% response to your.
Yeah, we had some surveys.
What's that?
Yeah, so we had some surveys. Everybody got a chance to look through. them.
Yes. And I just wanted to make one comment. Okay, I definitely am at the safety part of what there is with the city, to make the city safer. There's no question about that part of it. The reality is, are people gonna abide by the 25 if we put it there? That's all I'm saying. I want the safety. I'm in favor of the safety without a doubt. I'm just making a comment about that, so.
I agree with you. If they do, they do. If they do, if they don't, they don't.
You know, I'm just,
Yeah,
but I'm just
It
saying,
is with 30-mile-an-hour.
yeah, no, but I'm just saying that for the safety part of it, do I want people to be safe in this city? Absolutely.
I've been around enough of the neighborhoods around town that if you're doing over 25, you're probably flipping too fast anyway.
You know, I mean, where I'm at, I mean, I've got people that are screaming around the corner in front of my house all the time.
Some places.
I think that you make a valid point, and I think that we've argued the
Yeah.
same thing multiple times. But lowering it to 25 makes it easier to take it somebody going 37.
Oh, I agree.
So-
Well, that's what I'm saying. You know,
If we start having more traffic enforcement, that's where it's going to slow people down. But it's the same thing. If we put up a new stop sign, are people gonna stop? Sometimes,
That's on
sometimes
them.
not.
That's on them.
And that's
But
on
no,
them.
that's why I'm saying for the safety of the city, absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll make sure from the city side, we are, publicizing it out there to, the reduced speed limits and I think we'll work a little bit with Sergeant Wren in the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office for more enforcement on the warning side of things. They're pretty lenient with residents as well. They're more often not gonna give warnings to residents. But I think having just that more enforcement of this, especially right away to say, hey, this is lowered down to 25.
Yeah.
To really start putting that word out there, I think that's something that helps kind of spread word as well, when people are getting stopped a little more frequently and passing that information along, so.
So what accounts this coming out of? Cause there's $2,300 for new signs.
I think Kane had some,
Like $2,500.
Has some signage.
yeah,
Money. Kane does have some money in his budget for road signs and crosswalk signs and all of
And
that.
that's not earmarked for new branding signs? I just want to
No.
make sure we're not taking that money because I know he put money in for getting new signs once we have a new logo and
That wouldn't be Public Works.
Yeah, no,
I don't know, I think it's still coming out of Kane's though, but
We have to do though.
one thing that we could consider is instead of replacing all the 35s to 25s is removing the 35s and posting citywide 25 in residential areas at the openings of,
Well, they're all 30, not 35.
well, I'm saying that instead of replacing all of the signs, just put them strategically, the 25 strategically. And letting
yeah.
residents know that it's 25. I don't think that there's any reason to have a speed sign every, few
Yeah, it was in-
miles or whatever it is.
they kind of laid it out. in their
Joe's
map.
report
Yeah.
where they would place.
Right.
Yeah, they laid it out pretty well in their maps, so there's really not a whole lot of sight.
And those signs are just gonna say
There's 15.
speed
locations.
limit 25 and roads not posted.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it
That's all you
should
can really put up.
15 locations, $2,250 approximately. So
Yeah.
That's plus labor.
I will say too, some of our miscellaneous revenue each year does come from traffic citations. We do get some back from the county on those, so. I mean, I'd have to look at what our numbers were last year and, kind of this year. If there's more enforcement that are actively citing. We can't force the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office to cite more, but, encourage it. I always try to encourage it because that's just my law enforcement background, but when necessary and appropriate, and that's what they do. But we do get kind of I think we get a little bit of a comeback from the citations that are issued within our jurisdiction. So we do see those occasionally come through. It comes through the state. So when the fines are paid.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the 25-mile-an-hour speed reduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye,
I
oppose, approve. New business. And we brought to the front
We have the,
your,
don't we have
All
the committee
reports.
appointments? Is that what?
No, that's after.
Adjusted it to bring,
You wanted your RFP up front.
yeah.
we have comment, Paul, or
You already make a proposal to, request city staff draw up a request for proposal for citywide engineering services. It's been 20 years since it's been looked at and reviewed. And I appreciate Joel. He's done a good job. There's no doubt about it. Just sometimes it's 20 years. And never reviewing it is just needs to be looked at. That gives everybody that opportunity to the city and
I have a second, I'll second that for discussion.
So what would that, and, I guess, I understand like fiscally that that's incredibly responsible to look for, to see what, if we're getting what we're paying for. I mean, ultimately, that's what you're asking, right? But what's the outcome when, or if we get something back that's few thousand less than what we're currently paying? How do we put a monetary value on the history and the knowledge of the community for that money? Like, what's the dollar amount that would justify the change, I guess, is what I'm looking for, because I do think that Stantec, especially within the projects of the sewer, and that's what we would ultimately be affecting if we change city engineers. That's a huge value in itself. And I think that it's fiscally responsible to ask for this. But I would hate for somebody to come back, $2,000 cheaper, and then all of a sudden, well, we have to jump on that. Or where does that discussion lead to then? I guess is where does,
well, it's not necessarily $2,000 cheaper.
no, it could be $200,000, right?
Who knows what the number would be cheaper,
Right.
you know?
But where does that discussion then? Where's the value, where do we put the value of the knowledge of the city and how we move forward and the funds that we've gotten with them
I think
for the
that
future project?
that answer would be depending upon where the quotes come back for us to make that decision, because before we even get anything back, we have people, say what they're gonna do. So like what we did with planning and zoning, we had 3 people that we took a look at, and then we eliminated one, and we said, okay, the top 2 come back again and make a proposal of what there was, and we made a decision based on that. Sure. And it wasn't just on dollars, it also had, the service that went along with it and other things that we looked at before we made that decision. And again, I think that Stantec's done a great job, and again, it's one of those things that I hope Stantec comes out on top on everything that's going on. I just think that as a council that we owe it to the community to, after 20 years, to take a look at it. That's where I come. And again, I think Stantec's done a good job. There's no question at all. I just think for a city, for what we're responsible for doing, I think it's wise for us to do that.
But
I think
guess-
the one thing to think about though, even though an RFP may be the way, there's still hours spent. I mean, again, we're in the middle of some major construction. That RFP, it's gonna be a moderate effort for city staff. I'm talking 60 to 100 hours to just push it out of what we're asking people to send back to us. Stantec will have that inside ball on what we're doing, but like there's significant time dedicated to an RFP just to get it written.
I know, I understand what you're saying, Marie. But I can't let that be a restriction for us to do it. There's somebody.
So will you help write it then?
If you wait to, let me finish what I was gonna say. We do have an individual that we might be able to talk to, okay, at planning and zoning. That's very adept doing stuff for RFPs for what he does for a regular position. That if we talk to him, maybe we can use his assistance to be able to do something that way. You know, so that's what I was thinking, because he's got the expertise to do that.
Yeah. And that's a big ask. That's a big ask for a P and Z. I think that it's reasonable to talk to them about it. It is a big ask. Would we be, and I know this isn't necessarily on the agenda, but would we be trying to wrap in the planning and zoning RFP with the engineering?
Well, it seems like they're all involved in
Yeah, I think
any of the plats and everything like that.
So was that your request or just
Yes.
planning,
No, for everything.
engineering and planning?
Yep, no, that'd be part of it. It's citywide engineering services.
So
They're the ones that are into the plan. Sure, there's no engineer without a plan.
So, and I requested that, our chair at P and Z come discuss, the desire for the RFP for the planning and zoning services at the next meeting. So I would hate to keep pushing things down the line, but if we're going to combine those two things, then I think, and we're gonna potentially be using P and Z resources, that I think we need to have a very clear picture of what we're gonna be requesting ultimately, right?
I would agree. We need to spend some time thinking what our requirements would be and having alignment, because I don't think there's alignment. Besides, we just want to see if there's someone that could give us services for cheaper. And I appreciate that. I just think we need to be on the same page of what we're looking for.
absolutely. I think that that's the right way. So what we should maybe do is next month, you know, have Kathy come. Okay, and we can get into this deeper on what's going on from that point, okay? Because we haven't had a chance to do a P and Z to get together for the last couple months, so.
Yeah. Another option would be, Paul, if you wanted to join the P and Z meeting that we discuss it next, we could discuss a little bit. Probably have to put
It'll be on the 12th.
it'll be either the 12th hour. And we've got it.
I'm not available the 12th.
Okay.
The RFP is a city staff function. You know, when we did the RFP, for the code review, you know, Sunny did that for us. And to me, that's writing an RFP is really meant to be a city staff function at our request. I don't think we should be using a committee person you may have the experience, that's great, he can review this RFP that city staff puts together, but I think that's really, if that's what we decide to do, I think it should be a city staff writing the RFP. You know, Stantec is, you know, we're looking at, it sounds like we're looking for the dollars, and granted, I hope that dollars doesn't make a decision factor. It may have some input into it, but I look at see what Stantec has done for the last 20 years. They brought $50 million worth of projects to the city sewer system. We've started to do phase 1B. They've done all the design. They know the city well. To bring in a new engineering organization is not going to be, it's going to be very, very expensive for our taxpayers to recreate everything that Stan Tech has done for us. And I just feel like it would be as I mentioned before, it'd be very risky of bringing in another company. If it's lower cost, that's fine, but that's just a small portion of the expenses that we are going to be putting our taxpayers in a situation where it's going to cost a lot of money to develop everything that Stan Tech has developed in the feasibility reports for phase 1A, phase 1B.
All those feasibility reports and all that stuff is ours. We paid for that
You've got the
stuff.
tablets, you don't have the documentation. You don't have the drawings.
Those are, those drawings that he drew
We paid Stan Tech for those.
belong to us. We
I
paid for
Would
those.
like the lawyer's opinion on that.
Oh, you couldn't-
But I just feel like it's they've brought a lot of good integrity to the city. They've done great work for us. Joe's been that one person. We haven't had it. It hasn't been shifted from one engineer to another one. And
Well, the
I
way,
think that's probably,
kind of the line you're going is, as long as, say, like, if the next phase gets started and then we start talking something else, that basically you can never do another FP.
Yeah,
Because there's always something.
Gonna be something that's there.
well, it was written into phase 1A report that we were going to do phase 1B, that they put together.
And again, it's, if we do this, and I understand what you're saying, like I said, I think that Stan Tech's done a good job. I'm not kicking Stan Tech at all of what's going on. I think it's wise for us as looking at our community that we take a look at this after 20 years. It's not like after 2 or 3 years or 5 years. This is 20 years that we've had a look at it, and I think that we should. And people might come back and say, no, you're in the middle of something, can't do it, then we'll know that, okay? But until we do this, like, again, I'm not kicking Stan Tech at all, not at all.
That's what I don't quite.
Because I think it's wise for us, after 20 years, that we look at it. I really think it's wise for our community that we do this for the money that we're spending in our community.
And they've done a lot for the community.
Like I said, I'm
My
not,
concern is that with our sewer systems, just talk with the sewer system. We have a street program, the pavement plan, all that stuff they put together. But I think that's, phase 1B is a commitment the city has made to have in place by 2030. And that was noted in the feasibility phase 1A back in 2019, 2020. And to start over with another company, if that's what we choose, that's gonna be an expenditure that the city's gonna have to put up with.
but we don't know any of these things, Riley. That's what I'm saying. We need to
And
have,
Sorry, Jim, go ahead.
no, I'm just saying, I mean, these are all things, we're not making a decision that we're going in another direction. We don't know those things yet, right?
We don't.
And so that's what I'm trying to do is I think we owe it to the community to ask those questions to find out. And like I said, Stan Tech's done a good job. I'm not kicking Stan Tech at all. I'm just saying, I think we owe it to take a look at it, review it, and have something to take a look at after 20 years. I think
I think that's, just from that span, just from that point alone, I think that's the risk. You know, the risk we're taking by making a decision based on cost. If that's what we're looking for, low cost. If you're looking for low cost engineering, we'll get low cost engineering. Not everybody has wastewater experience. WSB doesn't. They have no experience with wastewater and sewer water.
And I didn't say I was looking that direction either, okay? I mean, there's lots of other engineering companies that there are around that are very capable of doing stuff, okay? And again, there was, I think that Stan Tech paid state back, what was it, $4.4 million just this last year? Of what there was for misusing different grants that were accepted. That's public knowledge on the 4.4 million that they had to pay back. So there's things that are there. I think that it just makes sense for us to go.
Sorry, what was that about?
They had overwritten different grants that there were with the state of Minnesota and they had to pay back the state $4.4 million?
This came from where?
Public knowledge, I'll come.
So I had, I would be.
I'll give you the statute on that one, so, and again, I'm not saying that they did that either here, okay? But I'm just saying, there's other things that.
I think that the likelihood of any engineering company getting fined for using monies incorrectly is probably pretty high. I would say it's pretty low that any one individual engineering company at some point is not gonna get hit with that. It's
No, and
costly
again,
to a business, but I agree with the financial and the feasibility, but I think we have to have like a very clear vision of what the value we're looking for is, because Stantec might cost more, but they might be able to complete a billable job in half the amount of time. We're not gonna be able to determine that by looking at somebody else's numbers, right? So internally, we need to figure out what value we're looking for. And we need to have that metric, because somebody could come in and be $1,000 cheaper, and there will be residents who are like, well, we should go with them. And there will be residents who'd be like, no, we should go with somebody else. So we have to have value-based assessment on this, and it can't be just about the bottom dollar. We have to be able to quantify.
And that was my point about making sure that we're all on the same page before an RFP is pushed out, and having evaluation criteria and scoring mechanisms that not just cost, right? Again, to everything that you guys are talking about, cost can't be the only deciding factor, and we're not on the same page right here. So pushing out an RFP, you're gonna get 10 different ways that this is sliced, and it's not gonna be the same, and we can't look at them the same. And honestly, I don't think we should have an individual do that. Again, that's city staff, but we need to make sure that we're understanding what we're asking for people to do. I mean, the other suggestion would be to have a conversation with Joe. I mean, he'll probably listen to this, but maybe there's something that Stantec could think about, a new proposal without even going through an RFP of what they would offer differently. If this was a new contract, what would it look like from a costing perspective? Again, I think there's opportunity to look at it, but I would hate to, again, I think to Daniel, your point of just, we're saving a couple bucks here, but in the long run, it's going to cause more confusion, and we're going to be spinning our wheels for, a couple $1,000 when we're neck deep in some of these construction, initiatives. So again, I think we need to be on the same page of what our goal is, what are we documenting in terms of our evaluation and scoring, and that's a lot of work. I just want to point that out. An RFP, a good RFP for this is gonna take some time to do. And not saying we shouldn't do it. I want to just preface that an RFP is not just something you push out and people just respond to it. Like we need to think about what we're trying to accomplish here to make it meaningful.
I agree. I want to be on the same page. So to answer your question on this, it was a release from the Office of Public Affairs, U.S. Department of Justice. This was released Monday, July 7th, 2025. That Stantec agrees to pay $4 million to resolve allegations that it violated false claims, acting as submitting false certifications and EPA and grant applications. And if you want me to send the rest of it, we'll find a way to get it over to you. So
Stantec is a huge national organization.
No,
It can be.
I mean, that was just here in Minnesota. That's what I was just saying, so.
We can't, again, I don't know why we're even discussing that. I mean, that's something, like Daniel said, there's probably a lot of misuse of grant funds. If we're not happy with their services and we want to do that, then let's do it. Let's get on the same page. We shouldn't be throwing dirt. We should just move forward with what we need from a city and let them respond as is.
So.
Any other comments?
No. I make a motion that we have
Motion's on the
Kathy.
table.
You make a motion.
Motion's on the table.
So I would also, to make a friendly amendment to the motion, I would say is that we would have city staff draw up the RFP.
I agree. Go ahead, Ben.
I would, I don't know, I'm directing a friendly amendment. The amendment to the amendment is that
Friendly
we
amendment.
potentially put up another workshop for this, like, so we can get
Well, I was trying to get Kathy and everybody together on the same, so
on the same page
Yeah.
and we sit down and we really, I think first we have to figure out what services we're not happy with, if there are any, or if it's just dollars and cents that we're looking for. And then we do need to have metrics on bringing these, when these RFPs come in. How do we score them? Because it can't be just,
Planning and zoning scoring it or council scoring?
I would say we absolutely be our, because planning and zoning won't have anything to do with engineering.
with all us, I think.
I think that has to stay here, but I do think that, if we're going down this rabbit hole, we need to have more workshops for this, because we don't need to take up time on council meetings discussing the whole thing.
Agreed.
So what do you propose?
Unless you were creating more work for council
No,
by having P and Z do it or just.
well, no,
That
we'll,
would say,
we'll be, we'll, P and Z. I think we're just looking for the input on why they're requesting as well, but I think ultimately we have to determine what metrics we're looking for, what we're asking for, how we're going to score things as they come in. And city staff will have to write it as well, but it's gonna be extremely detailed. It's gotta have to be an extremely detailed document, which is gonna get,
This little motion we have on the table, that should be removed or we vote on the agenda. I have this motion in place.
There was a friendly amendment to Paul to make it a workshop that we can discuss further details
for their
to
detail.
write up an appropriate RFP.
Maybe we should, attend the P and Z and see what their intentions are too.
Council should lead this, not P and Z.
No,
That's why
but
they
no,
bring
but
them
P
to us.
P and Z is having something to do with planning services, that they were looking at something.
Okay, that's where I'm confused, because your action item was just for engineering, not planning.
There was one last month for P and Z, but I could not speak on it enough without confusing the topic. So I asked Kathy Chair to come speak at the next meeting
Right.
to us.
Because that's a whole nother level of, are we combining these into one, or are we doing two separate RFPs, one for planning, one for
Well,
engineering?
if we're doing both, we might as well combine them.
That's what
Which
the
is-
motion was.
Yeah, his motion was to combine them.
Engineering and planning.
But I think the motion now is to set up workshops to continue this
That would be
discussion.
the only way to go forward, have to continue, yes. Or. Vote it down, whatever you're gonna do.
So either,
It's a friendly amendment to you, Paul, for the
I
workshops.
understand that,
So if you agree to that, then that would be the new vote.
but I'm okay with that.
Okay. On that, we'll send out another poll thing, not limited to the first 2 weeks of February. We'll kind of spread it out. This is gonna take time, so we'll work on a couple dates to get together for it, because it's not gonna be done in one.
It's not something that has to happen immediately.
No,
Okay.
and we'll include Kathy, P and Z on this as well.
I'll let her know that she doesn't need to prepare something for next month.
Yeah,
If we're gonna
but-
do a workshop, she can.
Remember that,
Here
so-
for the workshop then.
Yeah, so we'll include her on that for the workshop. And there'll be obviously city staff as well for that, but so we'll set up another poll for that one.
okay, so have a motion to work on RFPs as a result of workshops that we'll be having in the near future.
I think the friendly amendment was to set up workshops to discuss the RFP.
No motion about just workshops only.
Yep.
Closer. You agree with that?
Yep, yeah, I got it, board record.
All in favor of the workshops, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Right.
Oppose? Okay. Submit your dates through February or something like that.
We'll put together something, this will kind of probably extend in February and March, we'll put out dates. So it's just,
Whole process of this is gonna take
it's gonna take a while,
months,
Oh, yeah, months.
months, right?
so.
Okay, so next item is resolution 2026-01. Resolution approving official designations. 59. So with that, I make a motion, we approve resolution 2026-01.
Second,
Which one is 01? I got an 02 on here.
We have 01 and
I'm
02.
talking
02 is for the committee assignment type thing.
No, it's not. That one, we don't have anybody put down for the stuff. It's blank. On page 58. The other one that you're talking about, Ryland, was.
that was for the fire.
Was, it's 2026-02.
Oh, 01 is the,
One is the resolution approving the official designations.
the signatures.
There's nothing listed on mine, mine's
no, it's
blank.
this one. This is 2021, second page, next page now. Page 59
Oh,
is the,
here it is. Found it. It's it's like the signatures. and-
Yeah, I mean. What am I missing here? 58,
You're missing
it's got
page, it's
everything
scroll
there,
up.
but nobody's names.
there's
listed
your,
on
there's
mine.
your,
There's
just went
another
past
came out.
you just went past it in your signature.
You got the security thing on yours
So
too.
I've got, that's the security, I've got this one here.
No, you were at it, you just went over it. Go slow down, but keep going. Go back to 15,
I know.
59.
Yeah,
There's your 59.
I see that, but there's
Go
nothing
to the
there.
top of the page.
Active on your table is the up to date
Back it up. No, I haven't.
Not the one you put in.
I think that's the packet that's in, it's page 59, 8 and
You
9.
got this new one? No?
one. The editorial update on number 8, city planner. Phil Carlson retired, so it's Evan Monson.
I said it's okay. This one's filled out, the other one comes in, so. Okay.
You will get that one fixed.
Any comments? Standard with what we have now.
Yeah.
No questions, all those
No, it's voice vote.
on favor, say, are we saying aye?
It's a voice
vote.
vote.
I'm sorry, voice vote, sorry.
Mayor Ikorst,
Aye.
Counselor Pendergrass, Counselor Rice-Harper,
Hi.
Phillips,
Aye.
Counselor Spring.
I,
Thank
That one is resolution 2026-0. Two, resolution. I had an item submission form. It's a blank. Blank one here on page 60 and 61. That should be
Page 63 is the
63,
the
yeah,
other one.
resolution.
2026-02.
26. Well, it was on page.
Yeah, 63, got it. Okay, So I make a motion, we approve resolution 2026-02.
Second.
A couple of things on here that to draw your attention to. Planning and zoning meeting. This has been discussed multiple times. I'm moving it from the second Thursday to the first Thursday. The main reason for that is that the second Thursday, in some cases, on certain months, that's usually within the day that the packet's supposed to go out or the next day of the packet. So it's kind of a short turnaround to get the packet. The other item is under EDA. We're starting at 5:30 PM on the fourth Tuesday. Employee relations is second Tuesday at 8 AM. The liaison and the alternate liaisons are staying the same this going forward this year.
We already have the planning and zoning meeting scheduled for February being the 12th. With the ERC scheduled at 5:30 prior to. So without moving both of those meetings, I would suggest that we leave February's meeting scheduled the second Thursday of that month.
I'm not sure we got an ERC. Bree, I don't think we have an ERC response to that.
There's been a lot.
Marie, you want to
Oh,
talk?
Yeah, no, I don't think we locked that day in, Daniel, so I'm personally not available, but it doesn't need to hinge around my schedule, so I think if we want to move it, we can. I wouldn't lock that as we can't move it. I mean, we could leave that meeting and find another alternative time. I know they want to try to double dip. Again, I think that is we're working with all of the different committees to just do a check-in, so there's no urgency, so we could even push that to the first time they meet in March too.
Yeah, so that's fine. I was under the impression we were.
Yeah, and I was too, but what was going on with that?
We got it rescheduled based off of what was said in January, and we didn't know Marie couldn't
Oh,
make that day
okay.
work.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it.
The only,
It's kind of important.
the only thing I'm thinking of is it would be great if we had the meeting and tell everybody next month that it's gonna change to be the first Thursday. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
You know,
And I
that would
mentioned-
make sense.
Unfortunately, I mentioned multiple times that we needed to come up with a new date in last year's meetings or going to get designated at this meeting. And so I don't think that it's out of the realm of possibility that if it has to be if we have to push it to the third Thursday or the fourth Thursday.
No, I'm with you on the first. I'm just saying, I think for next month.
Oh,
we
yeah.
can Keep it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then tell everybody that's there with what we're doing to have it go for the next
Yeah.
month after that.
Yeah.
So leave it at the 12th,
Yes.
okay, and then go to the first.
Yeah.
Thursday after that, which would
I
make sense.
think the committee would appreciate that, I think, too.
So then,
If we
Mayor.
have some major conflict with the first Thursday that.
We'll do something else.
Mike had
Mike's trying to talk to you.
all I was gonna say is I would just approve the designations with the dates you have. And then for that next planning commission meeting, just notice it as a special meeting and have it on the old date. Does that make sense? Because you would be changing it to the new date.
Yeah,
So don't muck up the resolution by saying it's.
No, I didn't want to muck it up, I will keep it
Yeah.
that way, but just.
Right. But just for
I
the
got
for the next meeting, because you're gonna keep it the same as last year, notice it as a special meeting.
Yeah,
That's what-
I got you.
Yeah.
We'll just do that on our end, that's fine.
And then if all is gonna come to the 12th, then you probably have to post a potential
Well, yeah, because it's gonna be.
three.
We're gonna do
workshops.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
workshops,
workshops,
yeah,
yeah.
we're about that.
How
Perfect.
would you come to that?
Okay,
Okay, any other questions there on the resolution? Who seconded?
Phillips.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
If there's no other questions, we'll do the voice vote.
Mayor Ikorst,
Aye.
Counselor Pendergrass,
Aye.
Counselor Reisdorfer,
I,
Counselor Phillips,
Aye.
Counselor Spring.
Aye.
And the next resolution that we're gonna come back in February, this is the 10% resolution 2026-03.
But this was December
This is the one.
2025 money.
So we're gonna.
Yeah.
Make this resolution.
This one would be the last one right now to make based off of 2025 funds.
Twenty-two, we on
We're
with
talking
this one?
about leaving over there as a 2026 money.
Yeah, so we haven't gotten 2026 money yet. This is just from December of 2025. So this would be the last one and then we'll hold off on anything from there. So this one would need to go through the process.
Four.
Make a motion to accept it.
All,
Second.
Jim,
With the edit that it is
December
edited to
2025.
this month of December, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments? Seeing none, voice vote.
Mayor Ikorst,
Aye.
Counselor Phillips,
Aye.
Counselor Reisdorfer,
I,
Counselor Pendergrass, Counselor Spring.
Aye.
Okay, that's approved. Item,
So this was, I don't know how this got taken off in the last adjustment. But this was on one of the previous ones. And Rachel went around and got everybody printouts. Marie, if you're on Diligent. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, to say if you refresh the Diligent, it's all in there too as well. For anybody who's online, you can refresh the your Diligent page and it'll update the packet to show all the information. This is for the Grove Security. I sent this out in a memo on the 13th to council as well. So you all should have received it then. For the security equipments that were planned in the 425 fund for this year. For the project for phase 1 of the project. So after the memo, you'll see the breakdown for the costs. Why it had to get on this one is because there is a reduction in price that we're getting of $1,300 for a discount, based off of last year's numbers and some other stuff that they had. We're able to get a discount in some of the services there, so I think it's important to make sure we had it on here. And then the last part of this is just kind of, they had a presentation they provided me with. And so I put that in the packet, just kind of explains Verkada, the system. You can see some of the local cities that use it, Burnsville, Zumbrota. I believe Pine Island is also on there, yep. So they're a pretty reputable regional company that we've used, and we've been trying out their equipment for the past months now. And they've graciously let us keep the ones here with the understanding that we would likely be using their product. So, there's some install that's already done, which is kind of nice. But this one really, this is gonna cover, phase 1 is gonna cover the city hall, and then outside the fire department. And then phase 2 will cover public works and some other ones, but that'll be a next year thing we can get into for budget. Well, my ask for this again is, approval of the expenditure of the $14,976.23 from the 425 CIP fund for the security project, which was in this year's budget, just to authorize the agreement as you see attached here, for Grove Security, so we can start moving forward on that project.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Discount on the first phase or the third phase.
This is a motion to approve the $14,976.23 and authorize the contract.
Right.
discount.
G,
Correct. Yeah, and you'll see that it's on the invoice on page 2 here.
Jason, is there, I mean, maybe it's a 2027, but I know even Parks and Trails has been talking about security within the park. So I would assume that they have kind of like a la carte where we could start to buy some other cameras or other related things that we could have within the parks too. So we
Yep,
can
park-
bolt on.
Parks are part of that. There's the wastewater treatment facility, the water tower, and parks were kind of the three other areas we were looking at for city facilities and infrastructure. And we can certainly, as we looked at it all and kind of did a quick, okay, let's year one and then year two and three, we can adjust it as we come into year two and three, however we need to.
Okay.
Well, thanks, you guys do.
I'm sorry, what?
Is this gonna include the well sites also? Because
We didn't really discuss that. So I mean,
it's important.
I don't disagree. It was, I'm looking at budget and how much we want to spend, and I mean, I'll spend as much on security as we want to. I think it's important, but trying to keep it low enough where it's reasonable,
Just
especially.
knowing that the well sites are separate from everything else.
Yeah,
I mean, you could almost do a trail cam inside.
Well, yeah,
Well
that'd
site,
probably be
you
the
know,
right thing
where-
is have something inside because there's not much damage that can go outside.
yeah, but this would be something for our system where we'd be able to, have it monitored. So, I mean, I don't disagree with the well things. It would be easy to put up a camera in there. The big thing is making sure we got power, which we have out there. And then accessibility for connection, which we would be able to do. So,
They already have Wi-Fi in them anyway for no.
yeah, I don't know. I'd have to talk with their techs and figure all that out, but yeah, I don't foresee it here. If we can get it out at the water tower, I mean, we should be able to put it anywhere, so.
No question about the, in this case, it's the city door, front door. Is that gonna be a keypad? It looks like it's a keypad in your. Which will have a code, and is that gonna be the code not required on office hours? After hours is when you could use the code.
What are we looking at here?
This is the first page of the PowerPoint. But I didn't quite understand all the verbiage in the exhibit, the invoice.
So with the door, what we're looking at doing is key cards. For scanning in and out.
Card, okay.
Yeah.
This little bit here. This is probably
That looks like a key, that's what.
it's probably inside, so they can shut it off when they walk in the door.
Yeah, this is just a picture of some of their products they offer. This is like a generic picture they put in here of some of their products. But yeah.
The reason I asked,
Make a Kindle.
we installed a new security system for a church. and it
Probably
started
the
out,
monitor for the
had
office.
buzz to call in and somebody had this little tablet to push to enter. And that got to be a real hassle, so they ended up.
Yeah, we'll be able to set up
Keypad.
automatic lock and unlock times, so, it can be unlocked at certain times. Business hours, meetings, things like that. But then we have the keypads as well for, off hours. Yeah.
That makes sense.
I wonder if we should
Next
check
item
with
is,
the department
We gotta
about that
approve,
every
we gotta
system.
vote.
Because
we gotta
they're
vote that.
looking at replacing their locks on their door right now.
Oh, we didn't vote this more than that.
No, yeah.
All in favor? Purchase, with the security signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, it's approved.
Thank you.
Next item is,
So
I'll be working at 7:30 in the morning.
one forgot, oh, this is a handout, this is, every year we do an outstanding citizen award in 2025. Committee made up of Skylar Breckenstein, Bo Honaberger, and myself. We asked for applications, we received two, that they're asking candidate A and candidate B. And, you can read through the, presentation, but, so I'll make a motion, we approve recommendation for candidate A to receive the, Outstanding Citizen Award at the February meeting. Second,
Second.
because of the privacy and the way we do that, that's why it wasn't in the packet. Candidate is, they should read the paragraph there, candidate B, both of them, but we thought candidate A was the appropriate one, so. And for those. Your vote. I get fine because the plaque out of the hallways where we put the names on. After the February meeting, so.
The motion's for A.
Everybody's read the article,
Yeah.
all in favor, signify by saying aye.
I,
Oppose? It's great, that's a great award. Well, very deserving people get that. Next item, I think, is consent agenda.
Question.
You said it?
I
Jim?
did.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Before you can.
Second, then I've got a question, okay. The thing that came up on the consent agenda, and I was kind of curious, you can help me out. I saw the check that we had for Minnesota Pump for $11,013, and I was going back through that. And
In the
is,
minutes?
yeah, that was part of the minutes that was there, but it's for the other well, for an observation well.
Are you talking about page 112 or?
Yeah,
They also talked about using Lance Sorensen's.
yeah, and that's why I just kind of have it's on page 189 for that. So I was just kind of curious, could you kind of fill me in on the monitoring well?
Oh, okay, yes, on the water permit.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's, no, we're not digging a new well. So,
well, no, I was just kind of, help, yeah.
yeah, it's a requirement, to find a well that's not the city well. Another well that just can be used for measuring the surface water. Right now, we're about 34 feet in the Jordan Aquifer, is what our current city well is, but we need to designate a well, and so Kane's working with Skip Langer from our Olmsted County Soil Water Conservation Board, and he's in charge of all the wells. He knows which ones have been sealed, which ones are still open. So we'll find a well within the city limits that we can basically just measure down with a tape. He has a measuring device. We'll measure the water. It's just for additional water. I mean, we send in reports on the well water, but they want another well just to make sure it's separate from the city wells, but within the city limits, so.
Okay, so how deep is that aquifer?
Well, our wells go down 450 feet.
Yeah, but I mean, the aquifer itself, for the Jordan Aquifer, is there?
Imagine you said you were 34 feet into it, you said.
Well, we hit it at 34 feet is where you have,
The Jordan Aquifer, you
Jordan
have
Aquifer.
water at 34 feet.
yeah, there's water at 34 feet.
That's that's a different name for that. Isn't it?
I thought it was all Jordan Aquifer. Is it,
So I think there's.
it's saying the permit, sorry. So it's just something they do every year. Scheme up, they needed to do it, so
That's no.
Lane's looking for, there's a well over at Tilly's that you could possibly use. It's between the two wells, between River Park and one of Riverwood Hills.
Okay.
So we might use that one.
Yeah, I was just, I guess I was like,
I've never
that's
heard of
interesting.
either.
I was like, what's going on with that? Are we running low water or?
I see in the minutes, they talked about using Lance Sorensen's well. That would be up here.
What's that?
I see in the water and sewer minutes. They were talking about using Lance Sorensen's well. And he-
Well, we talked about a lot of different things.
Okay,
Yeah, it's just in the minutes.
they talked about approaching him on that. Well, okay,
Most of it thinking it's crazy.
the next item.
Did you want to pull something off the consent agenda?
Yes, I did. I want to pull the page 73 and 74, I had to do a Jason's review. It says that we voted for.
You want to make a motion to do that?
Yes, I'll make a motion to amend the vote for Jason's review. Because it was a 3-2 vote. You and I both voted against it. You didn't think it was high enough, and I thought it was too high.
So does number Steve,
Yeah,
It needs to
should
be
be
changed.
3
It
to
says 4, it says 4 for it and just me against it. It was a 3-2 vote.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we need to correct that. Just happened to notice that.
We'll make that correction on the.
Yeah.
In the minutes, yeah.
We get that, Rachel, for that. I've got it in my notes.
Too.
So we're pulling the meeting minutes from last month
To
to amend
just to
them.
make that correction on
make
that
a
one.
correction
Yeah,
for,
there's the one correction in there.
The only other, well, never mind. Sorry, that's in the financial piece. But on the revenue and expenditure report, again, when you're looking at that, that original budget 2026 is all zeros. So I know, Jason, you were working on getting that updated, but just wanted to call that out too.
It's gonna stay like that till we close out 2025 and it could be till the end of March.
Well, we'll do it. We'll have it by February.
I hope.
Well,
We got a lot of
we'll
work
have
to
it by
do.
the end of February.
I did notice on the revenue expenditure report that we wrote separate checks from Menards. Do we pay for that one slip at a time or do we have a monthly payment for that?
Usually it's when we get in invoices.
It's two different ways. We have an account with them, but only certain people can be on that account. And the rest of them use their cards, and then we have to pay separate for those cards.
So who gets the 11% rebate or does that come off the card? Well,
I know Kate usually uses the 11% rebate
Donut.
for his stuff, so it's one of those things like Kane's used that before, he'll save up a bunch of those and then put together, $200-300 worth of rebate stuff to use, so.
We are also in the process of separating Public Works and the fire department accounts at Menards. So they're gonna have two.
Okay.
Fire will have their own, Public Works will have their own.
I've been under the impression that Menards will actually take that 11% off. That's a register for their credit card.
I don't shop there enough, so I don't,
We have to save big money.
That's what I hear. Here.
So do we need to vote on Paul's amendment separate than the final consent agenda?
Yeah, this was just making an adjustment.
Make it.
Okay,
So that was it, and I just had a question on the other, so I mean, I'm fine to, with the consent.
Again, I mentioned this before, but items like what we just discussed here, just please call City Hall and really is not maybe except for this one here. If you have a question about two Menards, just please call City Hall and say, hey, what's this about?
No, I mean, the rest of the water, I couldn't do that. We had to figure it, well, that was the one that kind of jumped out at me.
I make the motion to.
Meeting adjourned.
We gotta vote first, consent.
All in favor of the consent agenda, signify by saying aye.
I
Opposed? Approved.
Let's make a motion to adjourn.
Who moved it?
I got, that was Spring and then Phillips.
Yeah, that sounds right. One way or the other.
With the movement.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Who was the second on the adjournment?
I was made the motion, so I don't know who seconded
I'll
it.
second it.
Okay.
Now I can put my hat back.
Right.
Got 2 minutes left on my truck's auto start.
Thank you, everybody.
Very good.
Very good.
Did you start it already?
Thank you, Marie.
9 o'clock, I think.
thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Marie.
Yep, bye.